The greatest lie ever sold to humanity is that you need other people's permission to be great. And this single deception has destroyed more dreams than war, poverty, and disease combined. While you've been programmed to seek approval, wait for opportunities, and depend on others for validation, the most successful people in history understood a secret that will make you angry when you realize how long you've been living as a slave to other people's opinions. They knew that seeking permission is just another word for giving up your power. That waiting for the right moment is just another way of avoiding the present moment. And that needing someone else to believe in your vision before you act on it is the fastest way to ensure your vision dies with you. You were born complete, whole, and sufficient, with everything you need already installed inside you. But society has convinced you that you're incomplete, inadequate, and insufficient without external validation, approval, and support. The greatest lie you've been told is that you need other people's permission to succeed, other people's approval to be valuable, and other people's validation to know that you're worthy of greatness. This lie has kept more people trapped in mediocrity than poverty ever could. This lie has stolen more dreams than lack of education, destroyed more potential than lack of resources, and murdered more destinies than lack of opportunity. The dependency deception is the most sophisticated form of mental slavery ever created. And most people are walking around in chains they can't even see. From the moment you were born, society began programming you to believe that your success depends on someone else giving you a chance, someone else opening a door, someone else believing in you before you can believe in yourself. They taught you to wait for permission instead of creating opportunity. They programmed you to seek approval instead of trusting your vision. They convinced you that you need someone else's blessing before you can bless yourself with the life you were created to live. This is how they control you. This is how they keep you small. This is how they ensure that you never realize the full magnitude of the power that lives inside you. As long as you believe you need someone else to validate your worth, give you a chance, or approve your dreams, you will always be at the mercy of other people's limitations, other people's fears, and other people's definition of what's possible for your life. But let me tell you something that will shatter this illusion forever if you really understand it. You came into this world complete. You were born with everything you need to fulfill your purpose, achieve your vision, and create the life you desire. You don't need anyone else to add to you, complete you, or give you what you already possess. You are not half a person looking for another half. You are not an incomplete project waiting for someone else to finish you. And you are a whole universe of unlimited potential wrapped in human form. The dependency deception makes you think that success is something that happens to you instead of something that flows through you. It makes you believe that opportunities are given to you instead of created by you. It convinces you that your destiny is in someone else's hands instead of your own hands. This is the lie that keeps you waiting instead of working, hoping instead of building, wishing instead of creating. Let me tell you about Rebecca Martinez. 10 years ago, Rebecca was a factory worker earning minimum wage and dreaming of becoming a fashion designer. But Rebecca had a problem that seemed insurmountable. She had no connections in the fashion industry, no formal training in design, no wealthy family to support her dreams, and no mentor to guide her path. According to everyone around her, Rebecca was foolish to think she could break into such an exclusive industry without the right connections or credentials. Rebecca's family told her to be realistic and keep her factory job. Her friends laughed at her sketches and told her that fashion design was for rich people with connections. Her co-workers said she was wasting her time dreaming about something she could never achieve. Even fashion school advisors told her she needed years of expensive education and industry connections before anyone would take her seriously. But Rebecca understood something that transformed everything. She realized that waiting for the fashion industry to accept her was the same as giving the fashion industry control over her destiny. She understood that seeking permission from people who had never achieved what she wanted to achieve was like asking directions from people who were lost themselves, instead of waiting for someone to give her a chance. Rebecca decided to create her own chances. Instead of seeking approval from industry gatekeepers, she decided to build her own gates. Instead of waiting for validation from fashion experts, she decided to become her own expert through relentless study and practice. Rebecca started designing clothes for her neighbors and co-workers at prices they could afford, while industry professionals ignored her because she didn't have the right credentials. Regular people loved her designs because they were practical, affordable, and beautiful. Rebecca didn't try to impress fashion critics. She focused on serving real customers with real needs. Within 3 years, Rebecca had built a customer base of over 500 women who regularly bought her custom designs. Within 5 years, she had opened her own boutique and was employing 12 seamstresses. Within 8 years, Rebecca's designs were being sold in stores across 3 states. Today, Rebecca runs a fashion company that generates over $2 million annually, and she never asked anyone in the traditional fashion industry for permission to succeed. Rebecca succeeded because she refused to accept the dependency deception. She understood that collaboration is powerful, but dependency is poisonous. Collaboration means working with others from a position of strength. Dependency means needing others from a position of weakness. Collaboration creates partnerships. Dependency creates slavery. When you depend on others for your success, you automatically give them control over your failure. When you need someone else's approval to feel valuable, you give them the power to make you feel worthless. When you require external validation to know you're on the right track, you surrender your internal compass to people who may not even know where they're going themselves. The most dangerous part of the dependency deception is that it makes you think you're being humble when you're actually being helpless. It makes you think you're being realistic when you're actually being limited. It makes you think you're being patient when you're actually being passive. Humility is recognizing that you have gifts to develop and contribute. Helplessness is believing that you can't do anything without someone else's assistance. Most people are addicted to approval, like drug addicts are addicted to substances. They need their daily fix of validation, their regular dose of encouragement, their constant supply of external confirmation that they're worthy of success. This approval addiction keeps them trapped in a cycle of seeking instead of creating, asking instead of building, waiting instead of working. But you were not created to be an approval-seeking missile that only functions when someone else gives you a target. You were created to be a self-corrected rocket that has its own guidance system, its own fuel supply, and its own destination programmed from within. You don't need anyone else to tell you where to go, how to get there, or when you've arrived. You have everything you need to navigate your own course and reach your own destination. The moment you stop seeking permission and start creating opportunity, everything changes. The moment you stop waiting for validation and start validating yourself, your whole world shifts. The moment you realize that you don't need anyone else to complete you, approve you, or save you, you become dangerous to every system that depends on keeping you dependent. Your potential is complete and whole inside you right now. You are not missing any essential component for success. You are not lacking any critical element for achievement. You are not waiting for some external force to deliver the final piece of your puzzle. Everything you need to transform your life, build your dreams, and fulfill your purpose already exists within you at this very moment. The only thing standing between you and your breakthrough is your belief that you need someone else to authorize your greatness. Most people live their entire lives as if they're incomplete projects waiting for someone else to finish them. They think they need someone else's approval before they can approve of themselves. They believe they need someone else's confidence before they can be confident. They wait for someone else to believe in their vision before they fully believe in it themselves. This is the self-reliance revolution you must make in your own mind. You must stop looking outside for what already lives inside. External validation becomes internal limitation the moment you make it a requirement for your success. When you need other people to tell you that you're valuable, you give them the power to tell you that you're worthless. When you require other people to confirm that your ideas are good, You surrender your creative authority to people who may have never created anything themselves. When you wait for other people to give you permission to succeed, you give them permission to keep you stuck. The most successful people in history understood this principle completely. They didn't wait for the world to validate their vision. They validated their vision through their actions. They didn't seek permission to innovate. They innovated first and asked for forgiveness later. They didn't require approval to begin. They began and earned approval through results. Let me tell you about Diana Washington. 8 years ago, Diana was a single mother working 3 part-time jobs to support her 2 children. Diana had been waiting for years for someone to rescue her from her financial struggle. She had been hoping that her boss would give her a promotion, that her family would offer financial help, that some opportunity would appear to change her circumstances. Diana was trapped in the waiting game that keeps most people stuck forever. But something shifted when Diana's 8-year-old daughter asked her why they couldn't take a vacation like other families. That innocent question forced Diana to confront a painful truth. She had been giving other people control over her family's future. She had been waiting for someone else to improve her life instead of improving it herself. She had been hoping for rescue instead of becoming her own rescuer. Diana made a decision. That changed everything. She decided to stop waiting for someone else to change her circumstances and start changing them herself. She stopped looking for someone to give her a better job and started creating her own job. She stopped hoping for financial rescue and started becoming her own financial solution. Diana had always been good at organizing and cleaning, so she decided to start a house cleaning service. She didn't wait for investors to fund her business. She started with the cleaning supplies she already owned. She didn't wait for customers to find her. She went door to door in her neighborhood offering her services. She didn't wait for the perfect business plan. She started serving customers and improved her plan based on what worked within 6 months. Diana had 20 regular customers and was earning more from her cleaning business than from all 3 of her part-time jobs combined within 2 years. She had hired 4 employees and was managing over 100 clients. Within 5 years, Diana had built the largest residential cleaning company in her city with 37 employees and annual revenue exceeding $800,000. Today, Diana's children are in private school. They take family vacations twice a year, and Diana owns the building where her business is headquartered. But the most important transformation wasn't in Diana's bank account. It was in her mindset. Diana stopped being a victim waiting for rescue and became a victor creating solutions. The self-reliance revolution happens when you realize that depending on others for your success gives them control over your failure. When you make your happiness conditional on other people's actions. You surrender your emotional freedom to people who may not care about your emotional well-being when you make your progress dependent on other people's decisions. You give them veto power over your destiny. This doesn't mean you should never collaborate with others or seek wise counsel. It means you should approach collaboration from a position of strength, not from a position of need. It means you should seek advice to improve your plan, not to get permission to execute your plan. It means you should build relationships to multiply your impact, not to validate your worth. Self-authorization is the key to everything. You must give yourself permission to be great before you can become great. You must approve your own dreams before you can achieve your dreams. You must validate your own vision before you can manifest your vision. You must believe in yourself more than you need others to believe in you. When you become self-reliant, you stop being controlled by other people's opinions, other people's schedules, and other people's limitations. You become dangerous to every system that profits from your dependency and powerful in every situation that requires your independence. Why I need more resources is actually code for I'm not ready to succeed. Most people use lack of resources as an excuse to avoid the real work of building their dreams. They convince themselves that if they just had more money, more connections, more education, more time, or more support, then they would finally be able to create the life they want. But this is the resource illusion that keeps people trapped in perpetual preparation instead of moving into actual production. The truth is that your biggest limitation is not what you lack, it's what you think you need. Scarcity thinking creates artificial barriers that don't actually exist. When you focus on what you don't have, you become blind to what you do have. When you obsess about missing resources, you miss the resources that are right in front of you. When you wait for perfect conditions, you waste the imperfect conditions that could still produce perfect results. There's a fundamental difference between having resources and being resourceful. Having resources means you own certain tools, but being resourceful means you can create tools from whatever is available. Having resources means you're prepared for known challenges, but being resourceful means you can solve unknown challenges with unknown solutions. Having resources is about what you possess. Being resourceful is about who you are. Let me tell you about Antonio Silva, 5 years ago. Antonio was a 16-year-old living in a small apartment with his grandmother, and his family had no money for his college education, while his classmates were planning their university careers funded by their parents. Antonio was facing the reality that his dreams would have to wait until he could afford to pursue them. According to conventional wisdom, Antonio needed to get a job, save money for years, and then maybe, someday, he could think about starting a business. But Antonio refused to accept that his dreams had to wait for his circumstances to improve. Instead of focusing on what he didn't have, Antonio focused on what he did have. He had a smartphone, access to the internet, and an idea for solving a problem he saw in his community. Antonio noticed that many elderly people in his neighborhood struggled with technology and needed help setting up their devices, learning applications, and staying connected with their families. Antonio started offering tech support services to seniors in his building for $10 per hour. He didn't wait until he had a proper office. He worked from his grandmother's kitchen table. He didn't wait until he had business cards. He wrote his contact information on pieces of paper. He didn't wait until he had transportation. He walked to his clients' apartments. Antonio used what he had instead of waiting for what he thought he needed. Within 3 months, Antonio had 30 regular clients and was earning more money than most adults in his neighborhood. Within 1 year, he had trained 5 other teenagers to provide tech support services and was managing a team while focusing on business development. Within 3 years, Antonio had expanded his services to include website design, social media management, and digital marketing for small businesses. Today, Antonio owns a digital services company that employs 23 people and generates over $1 million annually. He never went to college, never took business loans, and never waited for anyone to give him resources. Antonio succeeded because he understood that resourcefulness is more valuable than resources. Most people are waiting for conditions to be perfect before they begin. But perfect conditions don't create perfect results. Perfect actions create perfect results. You don't need perfect tools to begin. You need to begin with imperfect tools and improve them along the way. You don't need complete knowledge to start. You need to start with incomplete knowledge and learn as you grow. Your current resources are sufficient for your current level. And as you grow, your resources will grow with you. Stop using lack of resources as an excuse to avoid starting, and start using your resourcefulness as a reason to begin today. The question is not whether you have enough resources. The question is whether you're resourceful enough to succeed with what you have. How many dreams have died in the waiting room of networking events? How many destinies have been destroyed by people who spent their entire lives waiting for the right connection instead of becoming the right person? The network trap is one of the most sophisticated forms of procrastination ever created. It gives people a legitimate sounding excuse to avoid the hard work of building something valuable while they chase the fantasy that success comes from knowing the right people instead of being the right person. Most people have it backwards. They think they need connections to create value. But the truth is, you need value to create connections. They believe they need a network to build wealth. But reality proves that you need individual worth before your network becomes your net worth. They spend their time trying to get into rooms with successful people instead of spending their time becoming someone successful people want in their rooms. The networking mentality creates dependency on other people's schedules, other people's decisions, and other people's willingness to help you. It makes you a beggar for opportunities instead of a creator of opportunities. It turns you into someone who takes from relationships instead of someone who brings value to relationships. This is why most networking produces no results except business cards that collect dust and LinkedIn connections that never lead to anything meaningful. Real success comes from creating so much value that valuable people are attracted to you. It comes from building something so compelling that influential people want to be associated with it. It comes from becoming so excellent at what you do that your reputation precedes you into every room you enter. When you build your empire first, the right people will naturally want to join it. There's a massive difference between building relationships and depending on relationships. Building relationships means creating mutual value where everyone benefits. Depending on relationships means needing other people to carry you to success. Building relationships creates partnerships between equals. Depending on relationships creates beggar and benefactor dynamics that ultimately destroy both the relationship and your self-respect. The most dangerous part of the network trap is that it makes you focus on getting instead of giving, taking instead of contributing, receiving instead of creating. When you approach relationships from a position of need, you automatically position yourself as the inferior party. When you need something from someone, they have power over you. When you bring something to someone, you have power with them. Stop chasing connections and start creating value. Stop trying to get into important people's networks and start building a network that important people want to join. Stop asking what successful people can do for you and start asking what you can do for successful people. Stop positioning yourself as someone who needs help and start positioning yourself as someone who provides solutions. The secret that most people never learn is that successful people are constantly looking for other successful people to work with. They're not looking for people who need things from them. They're looking for people who can contribute things to them. They don't want to carry you to success. They want to run with you toward mutual success. They don't want to be your salvation. They want to be your collaboration partner. When you focus on becoming excellent first, connections become automatic. When you focus on creating value first, valuable people notice. When you focus on building something important first, important people want to be part of it. Your reputation becomes your network. Your results become your referrals. And your excellence becomes your introduction. The network trap keeps you looking outside for what you should be building inside. It keeps you chasing people instead of chasing excellence. It keeps you focused on who you know instead of who you're becoming. But when you flip the script and focus on becoming someone worth knowing, everything changes. Build your empire first, then invite the right people to help you expand it. Create your value first, then share it with valuable people. Become successful first, then successful people will naturally gravitate toward you. Your network should be a result of your worth, not a substitute for your work. You are a complete universe of unlimited potential walking around in human form, and the moment you understand this truth, your entire life changes forever. You are not half a person searching for another half to make you whole. You are not an incomplete project waiting for someone else to finish you. You are not a puzzle missing pieces that only other people can provide. You are complete, whole, and sufficient exactly as you are right now, with everything you need to create the life you were born to live already installed inside you. Most people spend their entire lives seeking completion through other people, other achievements, other possessions, other experiences, believing that something outside of themselves will finally make them feel whole. They think they need a romantic partner to complete them, a mentor to guide them, a team to support them, or external validation to confirm their worth. But seeking completion through others creates permanent incompletion, because you're looking for something outside that can only be found inside. The final truth about self-sufficiency is not that you don't need other people, It's that you don't need other people to be complete. Self-sufficiency doesn't mean isolation. It means independence. It doesn't mean avoiding relationships. It means entering relationships from a position of wholeness instead of a position of neediness. It doesn't mean rejecting help. It means being complete whether help comes or not. When you understand that, you are complete. Everything about how you relate to others transforms. You stop being needy and become generous. You stop taking from relationships and start contributing to relationships. You stop looking for people to complete you and start looking for people to complement you. Independent people create the most powerful partnerships because they bring wholeness to the relationship instead of seeking wholeness from the relationship. Let me tell you about Michael Thompson, 7 years ago. Michael was a man trapped in the completion trap. He had spent his entire adult life believing that he needed someone else to make him successful, someone else to believe in his dreams, someone else to provide the missing pieces of his puzzle. Michael had great ideas, but waited for partners to validate them. He had strong vision, but sought mentors to approve it. He had natural abilities, but needed others to confirm them. Michael's breakthrough came when his business partner unexpectedly left their company, taking several key clients and leaving Michael with massive debt and a failing business. Everything Michael had built was connected to his dependency on his partner. When his partner left, Michael realized he had never learned to stand on his own, think for himself, or trust his own judgment. For the first time in his life, Michael was forced to discover what he could accomplish without anyone else's help, approval, or support. Initially, Michael felt overwhelmed and helpless. He had become so dependent on external validation that he had forgotten how to validate himself. He had become so reliant on other people's decisions. But something remarkable happened during Michael's forced independence. He discovered strengths he never knew he had. He made decisions he never thought he could make. He solved problems he never believed he could solve. He created solutions he never imagined he could create. Michael realized that his dependency on others had actually prevented him from accessing his own power. Within 2 years, Michael had rebuilt his business from scratch, this time based on his own vision, his own decisions, and his own abilities within 5 years. His new company was generating more revenue than his previous partnership ever had. Within 7 years, Michael had created multiple income streams and achieved a level of success that would have been impossible when he was dependent on others. Today, Michael works with other entrepreneurs, but from a position of strength, not from a position of need. He collaborates with partners, but as an equal contributor, not as someone seeking completion. He builds relationships that multiply his impact, but he no longer needs relationships to validate his worth. Your destiny is an inside job that no one else can complete for you. Other people can support your vision, but they cannot create your vision. Other people can encourage your dreams, but they cannot dream your dreams. Other people can celebrate your success. Stop looking for someone to complete you and start completing yourself. Stop seeking validation from others and start validating yourself. Stop waiting for permission from others and start giving yourself permission. Stop depending on others for your worth and start creating your own worth. You don't need anyone to be everything you are created to be. You are complete, whole, and sufficient. You are a universe of unlimited potential. You are enough, exactly as you are, to create everything you want to create. The question is not whether you need anyone else. The question is whether you believe in yourself enough to stand alone until the right people choose to stand with you.